Hello,
There
Chief.
you go. How you doing, Chief?
Good.
Man, again, I appreciate your time. We got lots of questions for you, man, and let's just jump into it if you're okay with it.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Alrighty, sir. So we first thing I wanted to know is what ideas and plans do you have, Mr. Culp, Chief Culp, have to fight the opioid addiction that has taken control of Washington State? It's heinous. We all see it. Everybody sees it.
Right. Yeah. It's referred to as the homeless crisis a lot, on the news. And people have just taken over the streets of our cities, and it's bleeding out definitely into the smaller towns as well. And I've had the same viewpoint I've had since day one of my campaign when I made my announcement speech in the park here in Republic to over 100 people. It's not this homeless crisis, it's not about homes. Like my competitor said, we need to build homes for all these people, including Jay Inslee, and spend millions and millions of taxpayers' dollars and get all these people a home, an apartment or a house or, a tiny home, whatever. But all that's going to do is attract more and more people from other states to keep coming here because, they'll show up with their hand up and say, hey, I don't have a home either. Build me one. It'll be a perpetual building program. We need to focus, and I've said this since day one, on the real problem, which is the alcohol and drug addiction and the mental health problems that we have in this state. And we're not doing it right now. We're spending billions of taxpayer dollars and spending it on this problem, but not focusing on the core issue, which isn't homes. It's the addiction and mental health. And Western State Hospital under Jay Inslee's watch lost its certification from the federal government. And along with that went millions of dollars that were helping these people. So it lost its certification because it wasn't safe for people that were there getting treatment. It wasn't safe for the staff. So they got a $33 million budget to upgrade Western State Hospital. And 24 million of that, the last report that I read, had been spent to fix it. But only 8 million of that money went to the contractor actually doing the work. The rest was for administrative costs. And now there's a lawsuit between the contractor and the state over it. Oh, this is the failed leadership that's going on right now. And that's just one small example. But I was a narcotics detective for 3 years. A lot of people think of me as a chief of police. I've only been a police officer for 10 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I served in the United States military for 4 years. I was a sergeant in the 101st Airborne Division. And then after that, I ran my own business in the Olympia area. I was a contractor. Started out with nothing. I've had nothing handed to me in my life. I started that business with nothing. A little 1977 Datsun pickup truck is how I started out. And built it up to having multiple crews, multiple trucks doing jobs all over Puget Sound for over 20 years. And then sold that business to my son. And when the job opening came open for a police officer, because that was my childhood dream. But spending 3 years as a narcotics detective gave me a very unique perspective on what's going on, with the homeless crisis and getting people, because most of the people that are addicted to drugs, they're not bad people. There's a criminal element in there. But most of the people just made a bad choice and got addicted to heroin or meth. And they're, in their core, they're good people. They just can't get that monkey off their back without a boot in the butt. And that's what we found here in this area. Strict enforcement and then compassionate treatment. And that's what's helped to turn people's lives around so much. I did an interview on, I do a Facebook Live event 3 times a week on my Facebook page at Culp for Governor. And a few weeks ago, I interviewed one of those people that I have helped here in this area. He used to be a drug dealer and a drug user. And he got that little boot in the butt when he got arrested, sent to jail, and the judge gave him a choice, treatment or prison. And he chose treatment. And after getting his life together, he came back, and when he saw me, he came up and gave me a big hug. He hated me when I arrested him, obviously. I was ruining his life at that time.
Sure. And
he gave me a big hug because he got clean. He got his kids back, because his kids had been taken from him. And he got a job. He got married. He owns his own home now. And he's a productive member of our community. He said he couldn't have done it on his own. You can't quit heroin on your own. And,
Right.
you know, we've seen that so many times of getting people out of that cycle of addiction. You know, the left says that it's not compassionate to put addicts in jail. They're addicts. We just need to leave them alone. But that is so wrong. It just leaves them stuck in that cycle of addiction. They can't get out on their own. They need that push. So that's my answer to that.
Tough love.
Tough. I
Exactly.
appreciate it. You can see that all over, man. I mean, the streets
Right.
are filled with these people. I mean, Olympia is where I'm at is just absolutely horrendous, and you see that. You see.
It is, yeah. And, you know, so many times in these places, the police won't arrest you for a drug crime because the prosecutors in the areas won't prosecute them because they don't think it's compassionate.
Right.
You know, so you get, just like with the housing thing, if we started building houses, people from other states are going to come here. The same thing is with the enforcement of our drug crimes. If people aren't going to get arrested for possession of heroin, and in King County, I heard it's up to 8 grams of heroin now. If they're not going to arrest them, that's going to attract people from all over the United States to come here because they want to continue in their addiction. You know, they're addicted. They want to continue with it. They're doing all they can to get their next fix. And so they come to places like Seattle, King County, and places that are enforcing it so that they can continue with what they want to do. And so that's why we've seen this big influx of this people living on the street over the last 10 years. You know, it didn't used to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, there were always a few, we called them bums back when I was a kid, you know, that didn't want to work. They didn't want to get a job. They just wanted to do what they wanted to do. But now, I mean, it's exploded, and it's because of our failed policies.
Yeah.
I think it goes hand in hand with the destruction of family values, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I talked about that actually last night on my live. If we don't have disciplined children, then they grow up to be undisciplined adults as well. And then the justice system has to be the discipline for them. So I talked about that too. You know,
Agreed.
When I was in, did you see it? Okay. Yeah. When I was in school, the teachers had a paddle. You know, it wasn't abusive, but if you got out of line, you got to swat across the butt.
You knew it was
nobody
there.
wanted that.
You didn't want that, Justice.
No.
Well, children.
But you learn self-control. You learn discipline, and you learn manners.
Children need to learn that before they're adults. I agree with that. They need
to
learn the lessons with the safety of the education of their parents being there to say what just happened. You know?
Right. Yeah. You can't wait till they're teenagers to start either. Like I see happen a lot. Yeah.
Agreed.